This is the Brewers POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Milwaukee Brewers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
11 runners left on base, 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position. Jose Quintana giving up 7 runs, 5 of them earned. The Brewers had chance after chance after chance, and they blew it today at American Family Field. They lose game 3 of 4 to the St. Louis Cardinals. This one by a final score of 8-5. And it was as frustrating as it sounds. Lots to get into on the program this evening. We mentioned the appearances at the plate for your Milwaukee Brewers. Abysmal, to put it lightly. I think I mentioned they were 2 for 11, 2 for 12 at the plate with runners in scoring position for your Milwaukee Brewers. We'll dive into that. Sunday turning into a must-win for your Milwaukee Brewers ahead of that Chicago Cubs series, who the Cubs also winning this afternoon at Pittsburgh. Lots to get to, as well as stay tuned for a show update. Not a bad show update, just a show update. At the end of it, we'll talk about what's happening here on the Locked On Brewers postcast, and no spoilers, nothing bad is happening. Lots to get into. Again, welcome into the program. My name is Brandon Snide. You can follow me on X at Brandon_Snide. Thank you to each and every one of you for always making Locked On Brewers part of your day each and every day. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. Remember, wherever you get podcasts, you can listen to the Locked On Brewers postcast, as well as Chuck Freeman on the Locked On Brewers daily podcast, Apple, Google, Spotify, all those wonderful apps, as well as over on YouTube. Just search Locked On Brewers, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, hit the thumbs up. Let us know your thoughts, your feelings on the Brewers as they fall to the Cardinals. The good times end for your Milwaukee Brewers over at American Family Field. This one by a final score of 8-5. I mentioned all the things that we'll get into. Your thoughts are also welcomed on the program. Your thoughts, your comments, concerns, frustrations, you are allowed to air it out here, and we'll get to all of that. Let's quickly get into your scoring summary tonight, brought to you by Trade Coffee and FanDuel. 13 total runs scored, so a lot to get into when it comes to the scoring. Burleson would single to center. That would score win early on in the first inning. Over to the fourth, there would be a fielder's choice to third. Arenado would score on a throwing error there by Caleb Durbin, trying to get the out at second base. Gorman would advance to third base. Victor Scott would then single to left. That would score 2 runs. Gorman would score and Walker would score. It feels like, you know what, let's just go ahead and play it, because I feel like the Victor Scott single that scored 2 runs is tonight's turning point in an 8-5 Milwaukee Brewers loss.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
So I kind of talk about this part of the game being the turning point because it felt like, okay, you're down 2-0. If the Brewers could get out of that 4th inning and eventually, they would chip away at the Cardinal lead, and hindsight 2020, you're looking back on it and things would be obviously a little bit different. But if Victor Scott doesn't go off, for that 2-run single there for the Brewers and they escape that inning with just a 2-0 deficit, I think this game is completely changed. Now, there's still, in an 8-5 loss, multiple opportunities that this Brewers team faltered at when you're 2 for 12 with runners in scoring position. And, if you've been a Brewers fan for more than a week, this is nothing new. This has kind of been the story of their season thus far, although it's not over yet for the Brewers. 5 games back in the National League Central after the Cubs did win once again today, and you'll have a game still against the Cardinals and 3 against the Chicago Cubs ahead. Sunday's a big game for the Brewers, as I had mentioned. I believe it's a must-win game. I don't want to split with the Cardinals when you kind of had your foot on their throats for the first 2 games of this series, and you kind of allowed them to crawl back into it with a pitiful performance on the mound from Jose Quintana. Not his best stuff. We'll get into his numbers, but more so pitiful, I should say, not really so much on Quintana, although it wasn't a great night from him, but pitiful at the plate. I mean, once again, 11 left on base, 2 for 12 with runners in scoring position. Back to the scoring summary, back to the 4th inning, Churio would score on a pass ball from home plate. He would squeeze in. That would make it 4-1. Right away, though, the Brewers, the Cardinals, tip your cap to the St. Louis Cardinals offense. Right away in the 5th, right when the Brewers score a 3-run home run, would give them a 7-1 lead. The Brewers would chip away, though. Also in that 5th inning, they would score a few runs. Sal Frelick, how good has Sal been? And hopefully I know Pat Murphy had talked about leaving him at the top of the order. You got to leave Sal Frelick at the top of the order. Tonight, once again, he was fantastic at the plate, 2 for 4. His average is literally a tick below 300. So Sal Frelick continues to do what he does. He batted in 2 runs with that double. Caleb Durbin would score, Bryce Terrain would score, Churio would single in that 5th as well. Sal Frelick would eventually come around. That would make it 7-4. Then we got a pair of Contreras brothers homering in the 9th inning. Wilson at the top of the 9th and William at the bottom of the 9th to make the final score 8-5. The Brewers would lose. The final would be 8-5 to the St. Louis Cardinals at American Family Field. Now 38-34 on the season. And real quick, before I get into anything else, because I mentioned the Contreras brothers, I don't know if there's been a player, and I know he was a great catcher for the Cubs, and now he's kind of transitioned to a first baseman for the St. Louis Cardinals as he gets older. I mean, what he did today at first base for Caleb Durbin, where he stepped on the white line as Caleb Durbin's running to first base. I mean, he's just the biggest bleeper that I think is in Major League Baseball for me off the top of my brain for quite some time. I just cannot stand the guy. I cannot stand him. I know his brother is here in Milwaukee, and William is a fantastic teammate, a wonderful catcher. I've told you guys how much I love William. I think he's one of the best catchers, maybe the best catcher in all of baseball. I cannot stand Wilson whatsoever. He crowds the plate, complains about getting hit. He's leaning over the plate, then throws a fit about getting hit, goes and fetches the ball from Jose Quintana, who pegged him because of what he did at first base, which really could have been extremely dangerous in that moment, where Caleb Durbin is a very fast player, and he's going 110 miles an hour down that first base line, and he steps over the line knowing Caleb Durbin was right there and was coming to try to beat the throw. I mean, he's just one of the worst players that I can remember in recent memory. You know, certainly he's at the top of the mind when you play for the Cubs and the Cardinals and the amount of time the Brewers have played, but holy cow, that guy just really, really gets on my nerves. And he's a good player. Like, and I'll give him credit, but like what he does at the plates, crowding the plate, then complains about getting hit, what he's doing on the field, he's a punk. And I just can't stand him. But the Brewers end up losing. Rant over. I'll end it there with Wilson Contreras. The Brewers do fall, as we had mentioned, by a final score today of 8-5 in Game 3 of a 4-game series at American Family Field against the St. Louis Cardinals. Now 38-34 on the season. The missed chances at the plate. Let's dive into that coming up. Your thoughts, your feelings. Nick, Greg, Cody, all lined up on the live YouTube chat. Remember, if you're watching over on YouTube, you can drop a thought, drop a comment. We'll get to all of it as we wrap up the Brewers 8-5 loss at American Family Field in Game 3 of their 4-game series. We'll get to all of your thoughts and that show update at the end of the show coming up right after this. The Locked On Brewers postcast is brought to you by Trade Coffee, and let's be real, coffee is just not a drink. It's a ritual, a lifeline, the thing that gets me going from half asleep to fully functioning in the morning. And if it's that essential for me, I'm not going to settle for anything less, and you shouldn't either. And that's exactly where Trade Coffee comes in. They are the #1 coffee destination in the United States, delivering fresh, incredible coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. Whether you're a cold brew fan or a pour-it-over purist, they've got a roast for you. And trust me, it's super easy. I took the trades quiz. It literally takes, like, guys, 30, 45 seconds, maybe a minute. And the first bag they sent me was absolutely spot on. I'm a dark roast guy. I took their quiz. It didn't tell me at the end of the quiz what exactly I was going to get. I waited for it in the mail. It was fantastic. It was amazing. Their prices are comparable to grocery store brands, but the flavor is a whole different level. And right now, Trade is exclusively offering you guys, the customers, 50% off your 1-month trial at drinktrade.com/LockedOnMLB. That's trade, TRADE.com/LockedOnMLB for 50% off your 1-month trial. Once again, that website, drinktrade.com/LockedOnMLB. The program today also brought to you by FanDuel, the NBA Finals in full swing. Every night delivering those highlight-worthy performances. If you're rooting against the Pacers like me, SGA coming through with those highlight-worthy performances, those major momentum shifts in the fourth quarter, and those can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action, and FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and during with player props, performance trends, and same game parlays. You, the fans, have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. I'm over on FanDuel.com right as we speak. Game 5, the over-under right now is 223.5. At Oklahoma City, after winning Game 4, I think I would have to hammer the over on the 223.5 with the Thunder coming back home to hopefully win Game 5 over the Pacers. New to FanDuel, today is the perfect time for you to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. Maybe you want to hit that over for 223.5 over under for the Oklahoma City Thunder Indiana Pacers. If that first $5 bet wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Once again, that's FanDuel.com. Tough one for your Milwaukee Brewers as they fall to the St. Louis Cardinals this afternoon over at American Family Field. Final score 8-5, 38-34 on the season. Now 22-15 at American Family Field. Jose Quintana, we mentioned him, a rough one right off the bat, literally off the bat for Jose Quintana. He would take the loss today. He drops to 4-2, 4 1/3 innings pitched for Jose Quintana. 8 hits, 7 runs allowed, 5 of them earned, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, 101 pitches, only 60 of them crossed the plate for strikes. So a tough one for Jose Quintana. But once again, I don't want to take the blame away from Jose Quintana because he wasn't on top of his opportunities on the mound that he had. However, either were the Brewers at the plate, and you don't have to look far from that 8th inning where the Brewers had the bases loaded, 1 out, in the top of the order coming up to bat. At this point, the Brewers were down 3, so it was a 7-4 game, a really pivotal point. You could really peg this as the turning point for the Brewers, although I think Victor Scott, 2-run RBI single kind of really separated the Brewers in this one, offensively speaking, and the difference in this one really was a 3-run difference, and he provided 2 of them. But you could look at that 8th inning being the turning point as well for your Milwaukee Brewers, where they had the bases loaded, top of the order coming up. Sal Frelick up to bat. We mentioned how great he's been, and he certainly has, but he strikes out, doesn't put the ball in play, makes it 2 outs. Then you have Jackson Chourio, who also was really good in this game, was 2 for 5. We mentioned the run that he had scored. He also had a run batted in, and he struck out to end the inning. And that was a golden opportunity for your Milwaukee Brewers that they just failed to drop. And really, it's unfortunate because the chances in this one, albeit not a great performance from Jose Quintana on the mound, and he's going to have those, again, as we mentioned, you're not going to be a perfect starting pitcher. The Brewers offense also let the pitching down in this one. And sometimes you're going to have those moments where the pitching isn't going to give you 5, 6, 7 shutout innings or 1-run games. You've got to be able to take advantage of those opportunities, as you and I have discussed at length during this Locked On Brewers postcast, and the Brewers failed today in an 8-5 loss. Cody over on YouTube, the Cardinals handed the Brewers opportunity after opportunity to tie it or take the lead, and the Brewers just don't have that guy that can step in there and blow the game open. Yeah, I mean, Sal Frelick's been really good. I think Jackson Chourio's kind of turning a little bit of a corner from that midseason, I wouldn't say midseason, but early season slump. William Contreras, he had the solo home run, as we mentioned. He's feeling a little bit better. You're getting nothing right now out of Christian Yelich, 0 for 5 this afternoon. He missed a few games earlier in the week, so, I don't know how good that wrist is for him. It was sore. That's why he missed those 2 games. You're not getting anything out of the middle of your order right now, and that's the problem. When William Contreras is 1 for 4, Christian Yelich is 0 for 5, Rhys Hoskins is 0 for 5, Isaac Collins, who got the start in left field today, 1 for 5. I mean, that's kind of the story of it. And everybody will look at the bottom of the order and be like, well, what did Joey Ortiz do? What did Caleb Durbin do? And always kind of look at those 2 guys. And I understand that. And you're right. They have to be better. I don't think anybody's going to be disagreeing with that. But the meat of the order, the middle of the order, has got to be consistently better. 0 for 5, 1 for 4, 0 for 4. That's not going to get done in the middle of your order, especially when those opportunities are there. 11 guys left on base today for your Milwaukee Brewers. Nick over on YouTube, same story, different game. They showed fight, but just missed opportunities. Men left on base and not enough timely clutch hitting. Story of the season. I mean, it's the story of the season. That's just what it is. I mean, that I hate to be so direct and so look like I'm just giving you an answer. But I mean, when it comes to situational baseball and timely clutch hitting, the Brewers have not had it yet this year. We saw it a number of times last year. And a guy that did it, everybody will point to Willy Adames not being here. William Contreras was one of the most clutch hitters last year for your Brewers. He's not getting it done. I understand it's an issue with the finger, and he might not be 100% either, and that's fine. But then you got to have a guy like Greg says over on YouTube, thanks for nothing, Yelich, 0 clutch since 2019. Christian Yelich, as we have said, guys, I and I'm not saying this to throw trash over at Christian Yelich's way, but as he goes, this is how the offense is going to go. And he leads that middle of the order of that lineup for the Brewers. He's got to be consistently better if the Brewers are going to have a game where Jose Quintana is not at the top of his stuff and only goes 4 1/3, and then you're reaching into your bullpen, albeit the bullpen did pretty good. Grant Anderson come in, didn't allow a run. DL Hall didn't allow a run in 2 innings of work. Rob Zastrzynski, 1 earned run. That solo home run from Wilson Contreras was the only run he gave up. So, I mean, the bullpen was fine today. Starting pitching wasn't great from Jose Quintana. But again, you're going to have those days. There's going to be those moments throughout the course of the season. But when you have the guys on base that the Brewers had in today's game, 11, and you leave them all on base, and that 8th inning we point to where the bases were loaded and you only had 1 out, that was your chance. That was a great opportunity. Even if you only get 1 or 2, and maybe you flame out that inning, after that, it's a different ball game. It's a different ball game. Maybe, Ali Marmol for the Cardinals is give a little credit to the Brewers offense. Though they did make the St. Louis Cardinals dip into their bullpen with some of their, high leverage guys today. So we'll see what that means going into tomorrow afternoon's contest in the series finale, but you got to be better. You got to be better. 2 for 12 with runners in scoring position is not going to get it done. Yelich 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position. William Contreras 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position. Those are the 2 guys that I just kind of mentioned that we have got to rely on the middle of that order. Combined between Yelich and William, 0 for 4 today with runners in scoring position. You make that 1 for 4, you get greedy and make that 2 for 4, there's a really good chance this Brewers team won this game, or at least it's much closer. Jackson Chourio, we mentioned in the 8th inning, he's not going to be perfect. He was at least 1 for 3, had 1 of your hits with runners in scoring position, but that's kind of the fallback of this game. Jose Quintana, not a great start. Those things are going to happen. On the flip side, offensively, it wasn't like it was a 2-1 game or a 3-1 game where we had saw against the Padres last weekend, but there were multiple chances in this game for this offense to kind of give something, and nobody really stepped up today. And that's the story of the game. When you mix in not so great starting pitching and you mix in really bad timely hitting from your Milwaukee Brewers, or the lack thereof, this is the result you unfortunately get. An 8-5 loss for your Milwaukee Brewers over at American Family Field, now 38-34 on the season. Nick over on YouTube, it definitely was a team loss. And that kind of sums up everything that I was, kind of talking about. You made the error. Caleb Durbin at third base, making the error at second base that allowed a run to score, and a runner would go from second to third where Gorman advanced, where he had eventually scored. Those are the little things. It's a team loss today. Outside of the bullpen between Grant Anderson, DL Hall, and Rob Z, only giving up 1 run between the 3 of them in, 4 2/3 innings pitched. Outside of the bullpen, once again, this loss is on Jose Quintana, 4 1/3 innings pitched. He takes the loss today, as I mentioned, and it's on the offense, failing to connect with runners in scoring position, failure to have any kind of clutch hitting whatsoever. And tomorrow now is a must win. You have to win this game against the St. Louis Cardinals tomorrow afternoon at American Family Field. I don't want to, again, I said going into this series, not to be hyperbolic, but I said going into this series, this is the series of the season so far. Like this is it, because the Cardinals, this is their first win, and they lost their last 6 in a row, excuse me. So coming into this series, you had an upper hand on the Cardinals just based on how you were playing. Coming into this series, the Cardinals swept by the Blue Jays coming in. The Brewers also not playing great against the Atlanta Braves, and as we had mentioned, the San Diego Padres. But now you're 4-5 on the season-long homestand. So if you win tomorrow, great. But this homestand is very underwhelming. When we were looking at this, and you and I had talked about this, you guys, that a 10-game, season-long homestand, this part of the schedule was going to dictate how this Brewers team, kind of played out, going into the summer, going into June and July, going into the back end of June and July. You had a golden opportunity, right? You rattled off 9 out of 10, 8 in a row. Your road trip to Philly and Cincinnati was fantastic. I mean, you played great, and it was a golden opportunity in front of you to take 10 games at American Family Field, where typically you're better than most. And you fall 2 out of 3 to the San Diego Padres, who also weren't playing great at the time. You fall 2 out of 3 to the Braves, who before that series were on a 7-game losing streak. Then you welcome into St. Louis Cardinals for 4 games. You did well in the first 2 games. Yesterday's game, 3-2, not great, but you won. And then today, you have a golden opportunity with multiple runners left on base, and you failed to connect anything timely offensively, and you fall to the Cardinals 8-5. Now, tomorrow is a must win. Real quick, before we get out of here, Quinn Priester also on the mound for your Milwaukee Brewers tomorrow. So DL Hall pitched today. We'd seen him start for Quinn. The last game Quinn pitched in, he was the initial starter. So I anticipate that's what's going to happen for the Brewers tomorrow. And he's been fantastic. So you have a golden opportunity for the Brewers behind Quinn Priester. Hopefully you can get something going offensively at American Family Field as the Brewers will look to bounce back on Sunday afternoon. 2 announcements real quick. Number 1, this is the last show for about a week and a couple days, heading out on a family vacation, taking the family down to Cancun. So we will be out of the country for the next week. So if you're looking for the Locked On Brewers postcast show and you're like, man, it's not updating, I don't see anybody, I don't hear anybody, I will be back. I promise. Just taking some time off with the family. The kids just wrapped up school. We are heading down south for a week to celebrate all of that and kind of kick our feet up and just relax for a little bit. So if you don't see anything on the Locked On Brewers YouTube or wherever you get podcasts, don't be alarmed. I will be back within a week or so, a couple days after, and we will get rolling once again to picking up right where we left off as hopefully when I come back, we have many, many more good things to talk about. So I'm not going anywhere for good, taking a vacation. So I will be gone. So don't be alarmed. Maybe you're happy I'm gone. I don't know. But if those that are curious, I will be back. We're just going on a little vacation. And the second announcement is Happy Father's Day to all of the fathers out there. I'm assuming a lot of you are fathers that listen into this postcast show. Number 1, thank you for being a listener. Thank you for always making Locked On Brewers part of your day each and every day. And number 2, thank you to all the fathers out there. Thank you to my father who has raised me to be a Milwaukee Brewer fan and love all our teams here in Wisconsin. So thank you guys. Thank you for what you do. Greatly, greatly appreciate you each and every day. And as always, win, lose, or draw, tonight's a rough one for the Brewers, an 8-5 loss to the Cardinals. Regardless of all of that, it is always go Brewers. We'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good one.